I woke up to the sound of a ringing phone and the kind of silence that only comes after bad news. They said it was quick. They said she didn't suffer. They said car accident like it was a full explanation. It wasn't. 3 days after my wife's death, I was sitting on our bedroom floor holding a key I'd never seen before. A sleek black key card, a tiny brass key, and a tag with 4 words written in her handwriting. Penthouse, do not tell. I thought I knew everything about my wife, but as I rode that elevator up to the top floor, heart pounding in my ears, key card sweating in my hand, I realized I might not have known her at all. The doors slid open. I walked down the empty hallway. The little brass key turned easily in the lock. When I opened the door, my entire marriage rewrote itself in an instant. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening from in the comments. My name is Jonathan Miller. I'm 63 years old. I thought my wife died in a tragic accident with no loose ends. But the night I stepped into her secret penthouse, I discovered a life she'd been living without me, and a truth that nearly broke my heart before it finally healed it. Grief does strange things to time. The week after Claire's accident moved like wet concrete, every second heavy, sticky, dragging me down. We'd been married for 36 years. We met in a bookstore when we were 24. She dropped a stack of paperbacks. I made a stupid joke about fate and clumsiness. She laughed like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. I fell in love with that laugh. We built a quiet life. No kids, doctor's words, not ours. Just us, a small house, a dog that died too old and too loved, and a rhythm so familiar I thought I could predict her every move. I was wrong. The police said she lost control of the car on a rainy night, head-on collision with a guardrail. Impact killed her instantly, they told me, like that was supposed to help. People brought casseroles. They spoke in soft tones. They told me to take it one day at a time. No one told me what to do when I kept reaching for a second plate at dinner, or when I woke up reaching for a hand that wasn't there. On the 3rd day, I finally went through her things. Not because I was ready, because the smell of her perfume in our closet hurt more than the emptiness. I opened her top drawer, scarves, jewelry, a little velvet box with her mother's locket, and then an envelope taped to the underside of the drawer, my name on it. Jonathan. I peeled it off, heart pounding. Inside was a black key card, a tiny brass key, and a folded piece of paper. My hands shook as I opened it, her handwriting, slanted, neat, unmistakable. If something happens to me, take these keys to 14th and Alder, the Harrington Plaza. Ask for the Penthouse. Don't tell anyone. Not the police, not your friends, not even our lawyer. I'm sorry. C. The Harrington Plaza. I knew the building, luxury condominiums. The kind of place we used to joke about when we drove past in my old sedan. Imagine living there, I'd say. We'd get lost just trying to find the kitchen, she'd reply. I stared at the note until the words blurred. Claire had never mentioned owning anything there. We didn't have that kind of money. Our accounts were joint. I thought I knew every number, every bill. Apparently not. I could have gone to the police. Could have called our lawyer, her sister, anyone. But the line, "Don't tell anyone," hit me like a plea, not a command. And there was something else written under her signature. A second line, smaller, almost hesitant. "If you love me, please. Trust me one last time." I closed my eyes. I loved her, even now, especially now. So I put the keys in my pocket, grabbed my coat, and drove downtown. The Harrington Plaza looked even more imposing from the front steps. Tall glass, polished marble lobby, a doorman in a neat navy uniform. He watched me approach with practiced politeness. "Can I help you, sir?" My voice felt rusty. I think I'm supposed to be in the penthouse," I said, suddenly aware of how absurd that sounded. He didn't laugh. He studied me for a beat, eyes flicking to the keycard in my hand. "Name?" he asked. "Jonathan Miller." Something changed in his expression. "Do you know a Ms. Claire Hart?" he asked carefully. I blinked. "Hart?" My tongue felt thick. "That's my wife's maiden name." He nodded slowly. "She told us her husband might come by one day. Said we were to let you up. No questions." My heart stumbled. "How long has she had a place here?" I asked. He hesitated. "Years," he said finally. "Since before I started. She was always very kind, never caused trouble. Always paid on time. Years. My wife had a penthouse for years. How often did she come? I whispered. Twice a week at least, he replied. More, sometimes. Twice a week. Meanwhile, she told me she was working late, volunteering, getting coffee with friends. My stomach churned. The doorman handed my keycard back and gestured to the elevators. Top floor, sir. Penthouse A. The elevator ride felt like an eternity. Each floor dinged past like a countdown to something I wasn't ready for. I stared at my reflection in the metal panel. A tired man, older than he felt, holding keys to a life he didn't know existed. The doors opened onto a quiet hallway with thick carpet and muted lights. Only one door. Penthouse A. My hands shook as I slid the card through the reader. A soft beep, a green light. I used the brass key on the deadbolt. It turned easily, like it had been used often. I took a breath that hurt and pushed the door open. The first thing that hit me wasn't the decor. It was the smell. Not perfume, not cleaning products, coffee, paper, a faint hint of lavender. It smelled lived in. The living room was spacious, overlooking the city skyline. Books, papers, a laptop on the coffee table, a soft blanket draped over the couch. One I'd never seen before. A mug sat on a coaster, ring stained into the wood. This wasn't a hidden hotel room. This was a second home. My chest tightened. There were pictures on the wall. I stepped closer. Not of us, of women, dozens of them. Some smiling, some with tired eyes, some holding infants. Under each photo was a first name and a date. Maria, 2018. Sophie, 2019. Kayla, Puss. Lucas, 2020. I swallowed. On the small side table by the window was a framed photo of Claire, not the one I knew from our house. This one showed her in jeans and a t-shirt, hair tied back, arm around a woman with a black eye. They were both smiling. Underneath was a little brass plate. To Claire, for helping us start over. Love, all of us. My head spun. I turned to the desk. There were files, neatly labeled. Emergency housing, legal contacts, safe routes, don't use real names. And on the center of the desk, in her handwriting, if anything happens to me, this becomes Jonathan's. I pulled the chair out slowly and sank into it, the city lights stretching below. My wife didn't have a secret lover. She had a secret mission. She'd been running this penthouse as a safe apartment for women escaping abusive partners. For years, without telling me. I reached for the top drawer, hands trembling. Inside was a worn notebook, its cover creased. On the first page she'd written, rules, never turn anyone away in real danger, never write their full names, never tell Jonathan, he worries too much, he's already seen enough pain. I stared at that third rule until tears blurred the ink. She kept this from me, not because she didn't trust me, but because she was trying to protect me. My throat burned. I flipped further into the notebook. Near the back, a fresh entry, dated just 1 week before her death. They said it was an accident, but if you're reading this, maybe it wasn't. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the desk. I looked up and noticed for the first time the small red light of a security camera in the corner of the ceiling. My dead wife might have recorded the truth about her own accident, and I wasn't the only one who wanted to know what was on those recordings. Because as I reached for the camera's control box, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I answered with shaking hands. A man's voice. Low. Controlled. Too calm. Mr. Miller, he said. I see you found Claire's little hideout. I froze. Who is this? I demanded. He chuckled softly. The man your wife was helping people hide from. The voice on the phone was calm. Too calm for a man who should have been surprised that I'd found my wife's secret refuge. Who are you? I said again, my voice low, strained. The man chuckled softly. The kind of laugh that didn't reach the eyes. The kind of laugh that belonged in dark hallways, not over a phone line. Let's not pretend Claire didn't tell you about me, he said. You found the penthouse. You saw the photos. You know exactly what she was doing. I swallowed hard. I know she was saving women. A small pause. Then his voice sharpened like a blade. And ruining men? My grip tightened on the phone. Ruining men? No. Claire had saved lives. Claire had helped women in danger. Claire had spent years doing the work others were too afraid to do. She wasn't hurting anyone, I said, forcing steadiness into my tone. "Tell yourself that," he replied. "But helping them disappear? That cost men a lot. Jobs, reputations, money, children." My jaw clenched. "You're one of the abusers she helped them escape." A slow exhale vibrated through the speaker. "I'm one of the men she crossed, and I don't forgive easily." My stomach twisted. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing you'll enjoy," he said coldly. "But let's make this simple. Walk out of that penthouse, right now. Lock it, leave it, pretend you never found it. And if I don't, you won't live long enough to regret it." My hand shook. Then, the line went dead. I stared at the phone, at the dark room around me, at the walls filled with the faces of women my wife saved. And I felt something I hadn't felt since the night the police knocked on my door. Fear, real fear, not for myself, for what Claire had been fighting, for what Claire had gotten herself tangled in, for the possibility that her death wasn't accidental. I turned toward the small cabinet beneath the security camera. A label read, "Archive, Footage AF." I opened it. Inside were rows of tiny hard drives, each labeled with dates, years of them. I pulled out the one marked "last week." My pulse pounded. Claire died 1 week ago. I held the drive like it was a bomb that could either save me or destroy everything. There was a laptop on the desk, her laptop. I slid the drive into the port and waited. A folder appeared. Cam 1, entrance. Cam 2, living room. Cam 3, elevator hall. Cam 4, street view. Cam 5, hallway outside door. I clicked Cam 5 first. A grid of dates appeared. I selected the night of the accident. The footage loaded. A dark hallway. Silent. Empty. Then, at 11:14 p.m., the elevator doors opened. Claire stepped out. She wasn't crying. She wasn't upset. She wasn't shaken. She smiled faintly as she walked toward the penthouse door. She looked normal. Peaceful. Not like a woman about to crash into a guardrail at 11:32 p.m. My breath caught. She entered the penthouse. A minute later, someone else stepped out of the elevator. A man, tall, heavy-set, baseball cap, dark jacket. He didn't look around. He didn't hesitate. He walked straight to Claire's door and knocked. My blood ran cold. Claire opened the door halfway. They spoke. He stepped forward. She stepped back. The door closed behind them. That was the last footage of her alive. I clicked Cam 4, street view. At 11:27 p.m., the man left the building alone. 5 minutes later, the accident occurred less than 2 blocks from the penthouse. My stomach twisted. She didn't lose control of the car. She never stood a chance. And the man on the video. His build, his posture, his calmness matched perfectly with the voice that had just called me. I stood up, heart hammering, and searched the penthouse for anything else she left. Drawer after drawer, file after file, bills, license copies, emergency contact sheets. Nothing about the man, but then a thin black envelope taped under the desk, my name written on it. My breath caught as I tore it open. Inside was a single page, her handwriting, rushed, slightly uneven. "If anything happens to me, it won't be an accident. There is a man who has been watching the women. He threatened one of them. Then he threatened me. I didn't tell you because he's dangerous, but if he calls you, if he finds you, run." My knees weakened. "Claire," I whispered. Thunder echoed outside as rain began hitting the windows. A storm, the same kind that killed her. I grabbed the letter, the footage drive, and the notebook. I needed to leave. I needed to get these to the police. I needed... Bang! The elevator down the hall chimed. Footsteps, slow, heavy, purposeful. I froze. Someone was coming up to the penthouse. The last time someone came up here, Claire never made it home. My fingers trembled as I turned off the lights. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Then, a shadow appeared under the door, tall, broad, the same silhouette I saw on the camera footage. A gentle knock, 3 soft taps. The same pattern I saw Claire answer on her last night alive. My breath stopped. Then a voice, the same voice from the phone, muffled through the door. "Mr. Miller, we need to talk." He paused. "You weren't supposed to open that footage." I stepped back into the dark living room, heart slamming against my ribs. The doorknob turned slowly. Click. The door began to open, but before he could step inside, my phone buzzed again. A text, unknown number, one sentence. He's not alone. Get out now. I spun toward the fire escape balcony, just as the front door creaked open fully and a flashlight beam cut through the darkness. The flashlight beam cut across the living room, slicing through the darkness like a blade. I pressed my back against the wall, heart rattling in my chest. Mr. Miller. His voice echoed softly, too soft for a man breaking into a penthouse. I know you're in here. He took one step inside. The door clicked shut behind him. I held my breath, barely daring to move. He moved slowly, not searching, just savoring the moment. Your wife, he said calmly, was a smart woman, brave, stubborn. His footsteps creaked across the hardwood. But she made one fatal mistake. She thought she could save everyone. He paused. Even the ones who didn't want to be saved. My hands trembled around Claire's notebook. I scanned the room, looking for anything I could use as a weapon. A lamp, too far, a heavy crystal vase, too noisy, a kitchen knife, too exposed. Then, my phone buzzed again. My heart jumped. Unknown number, balcony, now. I didn't think. I crept toward the sliding glass door, moving silently along the shadows. Behind me, the man continued wandering through the penthouse like he was walking through a memory. She thought she could hide them forever, move them from place to place, change their names, help them start new lives. He laughed quietly. A new life is still a stolen one. My pulse slammed. He was close now, maybe 6 feet away. I reached the balcony door, fingers fumbling on the lock. Click. I opened it just enough to slip through. The cold air slapped my face as I stepped outside. Wind howled, rain hammered sideways. The storm was building fast. The penthouse balcony hung 40 stories above the street, just metal railings and darkness below. I turned, and a figure grabbed my arm from the shadows. I gasped, ready to shout. A hand covered my mouth. Quiet, a voice whispered. I'm here to help. The voice was young, shaking, terrified. A woman stepped out of the dark corner of the balcony, hood soaked from rain, eyes wide and desperate. For a moment, I didn't recognize her. Then it hit me. I'd seen her photo on the wall inside. Sophie, 2019. She held her finger to her lips. Don't say my name. He can't know I'm here. My head spun. She was one of the women Claire had helped escape. How? I started. She cut me off. No time. He followed you. He's armed, and he's not alone. My knees nearly buckled. Who sent the text? I whispered. I did, she replied. Claire told me everything before she died. She knew he'd try to destroy the penthouse records. Her eyes glistened with fear. She asked me to watch it, from a distance. I stared at her. Shock, fear, grief. It wasn't an accident, was it? I asked. Sophie shook her head. Claire was getting too close. She found proof he hurt one of the women. She was going to the police. Sophie swallowed. He made sure she never got there. My vision blurred with rage. Inside the penthouse, I heard his voice again, closer to the balcony now. Jonathan, you're making this difficult. Sophie stepped toward me, gripping my wrist. There's a maintenance ladder on the side. We can take it down to the 38th floor. The unit owners there are away. Then we can call someone from inside. Call who? I whispered. Thunder shook the balcony. Sophie lowered her voice. There's another woman Claire worked with, a detective, someone who knows everything, someone who can protect us. The sliding door behind me rattled. He was only a few feet away now. Sophie's eyes widened. Go, she whispered urgently. Now! I followed her across the balcony to the metal railing on the side. Rain soaked us instantly. Wind pushed hard against my back. Sophie climbed over the railing like she'd done it before. Her hands shook, but she didn't hesitate. I swung a leg over, my heart pounding in my ears. Suddenly, the sliding door behind us slammed open. A flashlight beam hit the balcony. There you are. His silhouette filled the doorway. Sophie froze. I nearly slipped. He stepped outside slowly, rain hitting his coat like bullets. You think climbing down will save you? He said calmly. I've climbed higher. Then he took a step toward us. Sophie grabbed my wrist hard. Jump, she screamed. Before I could react, Sophie leapt off the railing, onto the maintenance ladder attached to the side of the building. I had no choice. I jumped too. The metal ladder rattled dangerously as both our feet slammed onto it. Below us, 40 stories of darkness. Above us, the man leaned over the rail. He aimed something at us. A gun? A flashlight? A rock? Lightning flashed, illuminating his face and the object in his hand. It wasn't a gun. It was Claire's notebook, soaked with rain. He smiled. "You want answers?" he said. "Come get them." Then he let the notebook fall. It tumbled through the air, pages ripping, spinning down toward the street. Sophie looked at me. "Jonathan, if that notebook hits the street, it's over." Rain blinded my eyes, wind whipped at my face. The notebook fell fast, too fast. And then a scream tore through the storm. Sophie's scream. I looked up just in time to see the man climbing over the balcony railing, coming after us. Sophie's scream sliced through the storm as the man hoisted himself over the balcony railing. Lightning flashed behind him, turning his silhouette into a monster-shaped shadow crawling toward us. "Sophie, move!" I shouted. The maintenance ladder shook violently as she and I clung to it, 40 stories of open air beneath our feet. The man slid down the balcony railing like he'd practiced it. His boots hit the ladder hard, sending vibrations through the metal frame. He was only 3 rungs above us. "Jonathan," Sophie whispered, her voice trembling through the wind. "If he reaches us, we're dead." The notebook fell below us, fluttering like a wounded bird, pages tearing off into the night. He began climbing down, slow, steady, confident. "You can't run from this," he snarled over the thunder. "Your wife tried. Look how that ended." Rage ignited in my chest, hotter than fear, hotter than grief. "Don't talk about her," I roared. His grin flashed in the rain. "I'll talk about her all I want. She stuck her nose where it didn't belong, so did you." He dropped another rung, too close. Sophie slid lower on the ladder, boots scraping metal. "Jonathan, go! Down! Now!" But I saw something she didn't. The ladder was bolted into the wall at 2 points, one below us and one near him. The bolt near him was half rusted. Old? Weak? If the top bolt broke, the ladder would swing away from the building like a trapdoor and throw him off. The problem? It would throw us off too unless we jumped at the right second. "Sophie," I shouted over the wind, "on my mark, you move to the next platform." "There is no platform," she cried. "There's a window ledge, 10 feet down," I pointed frantically. Claire showed me photos, for fire drills. "It holds weight." The man dropped another rung, only one above us now. He reached for my jacket. "Got you?" I swung my elbow back as hard as I could. It connected with his face. He snarled and slipped one rung down, barely catching himself. Sophie looked at me, eyes wide. "Jonathan, what are you planning?" I took a deep breath. "Saving us." I kicked the ladder, once, twice. The rusted bolt groaned. He looked down, panic flickering in his eyes for the first time. "Stop!" he barked. "You'll kill us all." "That's the idea," I said quietly. I kicked again. Crack! The bolt snapped. The ladder lurched outward. All 3 of us swung violently into open air, wind roaring, rain slashing our faces. Sophie screamed. I held the ladder with both hands, arms burning. The man lost his grip for a second, just long enough for the ladder to jerk again. "Now, Sophie!" I shouted. She understood instantly. She pushed off the ladder and leapt toward the window ledge below. She hit it hard, nearly slipping, but she clung on. Barely. "Jonathan!" she cried, arms reaching. The man above me was dangling now, fingers slipping. "You're insane!" he growled. "Yeah," I said, "but you threatened the wrong woman." His grip finally failed. He fell, screaming into the storm as gravity swallowed him whole. I didn't watch him hit the ground. I swung toward Sophie. She reached out. I grabbed her wrist. Pain shot through my arm as she pulled me hard toward the ledge. My fingers scraped concrete. My boots slid. The rain blinded us both, but then, with one last desperate yank, she dragged me onto the ledge beside her. We collapsed against the wall, soaked, trembling, gasping for air. The ladder dangled loosely above us, swaying in the storm like a dead branch. Sophie looked at me, shivering, crying, laughing all at once. "You're "You're insane," she said between breaths. I nodded. So was Claire. We climbed through the window into the empty apartment. For the first time since she died, I felt her presence, not in memory, but in purpose. The police arrived within minutes. Sophie called the detective Claire trusted, and everything unfolded quickly after that. The man who chased us fell to his death. His organization fell apart within 2 weeks after Sophie and the detective exposed every record Claire collected. The truth became official. Claire had been murdered. Her accident was staged. Her work had saved 42 women. The Penthouse was transferred to my name, just as her note said. I kept it running, not alone, with Sophie, with the detective, with the women Claire saved. We renamed it Claire's Second Chances. And every night, before turning out the lights, I look at her last handwriting. "If you love me, trust me one last time." I did, and it saved lives, just like she always wanted.